All right, welcome back, everybody. Thanks so much for being with me today. And we're going to go over what is programming. Okay, what is programming? We're talking about mind control. We're talking about the devil's devices and mind control and how we can fight against this. We're going to explain real quick what programming is. And it's I say real quick, there's nothing quick about it. This is involved. this is this is involved, and it's something I've been studying for the last couple of years, and it's so insidious. And to think that our government has used this against us. They've used the knowledge and the devices of the devil against us as human beings. And we're exposing the works of the darkness. We're exposing the work of the devil, and we are exposing what exactly mind control is. Okay, so what is programming? Okay, programming involves message or series of message, often accompanied by sensory, emotional, or body memories that repeat and resonate inside a survivor's mind at a certain cue or trigger delivered by personalities who are trained through torture to do that. Programming is a deliberate tool used by cults to control their victim. Uh, it is trained into victims through the use of mind control and torture at a very young age. The degree to which a victim incorporates program into her personality system is often a large part of her chance at survival. Often the torture does not stop until the occult is assured that the victim not only knows the new message, but has taken it into a deep core level. The survivor often has to create specific personalities to withstand the torturous events and message, and has to accept particular names and roles for personality that the cult set for them. Okay, a lot of people probably have seen the Manchurian, what was it called? The Manchurian something. Um, Basically, it was mind control for assassination, where a particular trigger would reintroduce into that human a personality that was designed and now controlled for that particular purpose. This is a real thing. The CIA has released and unclassified documents on studies that have gone back to, as far as we know, back to the 40s, back to the whole uh, paperclip project that introduced Nazi um, so-called scientists and doctors into America after World War II to produce programs that would control not only the masses, but of course our enemies. There was real fear that this had been escalated in Germany and in other places in Europe, which it was. And so now, after World War II, Project Paperclip brought a bunch of these, and I hate to even use the word scientists because, what they are demonically controlled people who torture other people, especially young people, into developing isolated personalities that can be controlled, of course, to do specific things. Now, we're talking about mind control today, and we're talking about the dragon. The end time agenda of the dragon is to produce basically soldiers for the end time war, the war against the dragon and Jesus. We know that Jesus comes and shows himself in the type of glory that we have never seen on that day. But until then, things are being set up. And the end time agenda of the dragon is to produce an army for himself. See, Satan has limited access to the heavenlies. There's basically three heavens: the sky we see, the beyond the sky, and then the top is the throne room of God. That middle area is where Satan dwells, where he rules and reigns in his little kingdom for right now. And part of his power is to control the minds of human and become part of his army. And through the spiritual gifts that God gives to humans, he gains access to the heavenlies. And basically that's his control, especially people who have spiritual gifts, which are believers. um, that's the real treasure. That is what he doesn't have access to except through the believer. See, you have to have spiritual gifts in order for him to use you spiritually. So he likes to, control the mind, control the body, and keep us in cages, basically, where he could have control over us. But we're not going to let that happen. We're going to expose the darkness. I was talking about earlier, when I get cut off, Satan doesn't like when we expose his plans, does he now? So in Africa, there's interaction with what are called mermaids, or part of spiritual demonic entities who live in the sea, people who are controlled by Satan, or not people controlled, but spirits who are part of the demonic kingdom of the sea, the marine kingdom. In Africa, I saw this crazy, what I thought was a baptism, and in reality probably is. What there was the bunch of Africans, and they were in the water, and they were stirring up the water, and they had flags and banners, and they were shouting out, and they were dunking one particular lady in the water, and they were crawling out and calling to the sea, spirits of the sea. And before the end, and it went on for a while, I don't know, I just caught my fascination, and I was just watching it and wondering where it would lead. Well, where it led was the leader, the pastor of whatever he was, got sucked into the sea and disappeared. This was not staged. This was very primitive. This was, something that I don't think was caught too many times on tape before, and it definitely wasn't staged. It was really weird. You could see people going into trauma, searching for him and wondering what happened to him. He got sucked in by a spirit in the sea, apparently. But the interaction with mermaids, I've heard stories where even people of certain bloodlines who have interacted, who have offered blood sacrifices and contracts to the demons of the sea. Actually, I heard one woman say they dip this young girl into the sea. They dip her into the sea, and her feet came together and began not a human type of movement. She was being controlled and being turned in a sense into a mermaid. It was a very, the things that go on in the spiritual realm, it also have connection to what goes on in the physical realm, and it's very interesting. But I saw that myself. Not that part of it. That was something I heard. But yeah, mermaids, dragons, they're not as cute as Disney would have us think they are. Now, the royal dragons are connected to the 5 royal bloodlines. Or let me see, there's more bloodlines on this earth. There's 12 that I know about. But the royal dragons are connected to at least 5 of those bloodlines. The mermaids form manifests in certain spiritual bloodlines. The one in particular is the Scythian bloodlines, Scathian, Scythian bloodline. This comes from the Sumerian Khazars. I think you've probably seen the picture of Dragon, half man, half fish. Basically, you see it with 2 tails, and you even see it on famous coffee brands. Dragon. You see certain religious cults even large international religions where they wear the fish head on their head. Um, yeah, all it all represents dragon, or Dagon. Uh, the French bloodline. Out of all the Freemasons, probably the most darkest rituals are performed by the French lines of the Freemason, and they basically um, are controlled by the dragon. Now, the House of Lusignan in the art world supports a lot of mind control tactics. Is one of the reasons that say that Hitler stole all the art, because there's a lot of messages that are included in the art, um, symbols. We know that the elite talk to each other in symbols, and the artwork has a lot of symbols, mystery, and esoteric knowledge tied up in them. The artwork controlled by the Lusignan family and the House of Lusignan is very occult in nature, and they are known to channel what they call the goddess uh, through the art. The Jesuits are part of the French story, and of course, there's a lot of darkness tied to the Jesuits. Um, and basically, what they did in the early days of the Crusaders is capture the gold to monetize the the gold of Jerusalem was captured. Okay, so then that leads us to the Holy Roman Empire, again controlled by the dragon. The House of Limburg and Luxembourg claimed this lineage through Siegfried, and the Pope himself has a dragon clock. A dragon clock. The dragon, the enemy of God, is his coat of arms. The fourth is the German bloodline and the disagreement to kingly law, the visible through uh, the Lorelei on the Rhine River, which is the mermaid. The siren song leads, of course, sailors to their death. Okay, the Lorelei, a mermaid, demonic entity. Many unknown drownings happen in places where there's offerings to the spirits of the sea. Um, they present flags and stir the water and offer fruit that they roll into the water. And there's been uh, studies done where there's a profound number of drownings in these areas. They're sacrifices to the spirits of the sea. Um, Dr. Laura Sanger is a wonderful, from what I've seen, Christian author who has taught and works on particular spiritual mapping so that we can gain control and, you know, bind the powers of the principalities over certain areas. A lot of you probably are opening up your eyes and realize that the state seals and symbols are full of sigils. And those are basically communications that the elite uses to talk to each other that represent the demonic powers over particular areas. And the contracts that are made, the seal itself also shows you where the Freemasons are stronger in the north and the south by the writing on the edge and the outside of the seal. We'll go into that because I'm learning about that and want to know more myself. But it's very interesting. Now, the Freemasons brought the occult onto the stage, meaning through at first opera. Um, Remember how even Hitler was so fascinated by the operas and the musics by Voltaire and Mozart, and even in those before his time, the occult used music to introduce occult principles to the masses. Still going on today. Okay, so then we have the dragons that reign over the English bloodlines. The House of I hope I don't say it now wrong now. Plantagenet, Plantagenet. Mm, Okay, English bloodlines. Richard the First claimed this lineage, and often you see symbolized in their coat of arms water nymph or mermaid as their emblem. The dragon is a multi-dimensional being, as we see in Revelations 3:1. Okay, so the dragon's a multi-dimensional being. Revelation 3:1 says, "Then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name." He is a multi-dimensional spiritual being with physical power. The end time agenda, the the plan of Satan for the end times. The 7-headed, what we see is a hydra dragon, water coming up out of the sea. If a head is removed, another one grows. He's shape shifting and has an infinity clause. When we see uh, the dragon that bites its own tail, the serpent that bites its own tail, wrapped around the world, an infinity curse has been placed on the earth. These have to do with the final battle where Jesus versus the dragon, the 10 crowns or 10 kingdoms, the dark core in the center, the 7 heads, the spiritual evil, abortion, perversion, the sex trade, the ultimate evil, the cosmic forces to destroy anything that represents Yahweh, and the 7 crowns usurping God's power. We see that Satan is a shapeshifter. We've seen him go from a serpent to a snake to a dragon. Satan can come to you one day in one form and completely change in another form, or you don't even recognize him. Open up your spiritual eyes. We need to understand the end time agenda and the dragon, the doctrinal perversion, the child slavery, the false prophets, the ultimate evil, and the cosmic forces that come against God and anything to do with God. Remember the ability to shapeshift. So the dragon can transform from one day to the next into anything he wants. In Ephesians 6:11 and 12, we read about the armor of God. Well, this gives us all the spiritual power that we need to protect ourselves in spiritual warfare. The rules, the authorities, the cosmic power over the present darkness, the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenlies are laid out in Ephesians 6:11 to 12. Okay, spiritual warfare. The celestial dragon is wrapped in mystery, reflecting duality, positive and negative, and polar opposites. We see that in the symbol of the Chinese dragon and the yin yang, clothed in mystery, representing duality. That Satan tries to pull off this, you know, that there's a duality, that there's a balance, that good and evil are in balance, but that is a lie. The power of God is far above the power of Satan. We're just working out the details right now. The ascended dragon is a type of demigod, a type of Nephilim, even a Nephilim, Nimrod. We see the cosmic dragon, okay, the cosmic powers at play, the connection to human beings to connect the fallen angels. So the cosmic dragon's job is to connect humans to fallen angels. The exchange takes place. There's always an exchange. For you to receive power from the dragon, you are exchanging your soul. Knowledge and understanding. There's basically 2 Atlantises, the old Atlantis and the new Atlantis. The this is this is some information where technology is stored. Satan's power over technology, where the new Atlantis basically holds human knowledge and, that type of thing. From what I understand, this is my version of trying to understand what's going on. Um, we know that Satan copies God and transforms thoughts into physical form to manifest. Okay, this has to do with the cosmic dragon. For there's a galactic dragon, um, massive onyx type of dragon, operates in the outer realms, working with the stars and the planets. The vibrational dragon uses vibrational energy and energy weapons to cause trauma, torture, and pain to survivors. Uh, there's alchemy and magic, vibrational control, disturbing the frequencies on Earth and parallel dimensions. Mind control through light, sound, quantum computers, and waves. None of this was designed by Satan. This is all God's God's power usurped and used against us. Um, Frequency, energy, and vibrations are words as well. The church was programmed against even talking about these frequencies, energy, and vibration. But the fact is, we need to know about it. This is reality. God is the quantum creator, and dragons are being used. The level of weaponry we work against. Counselors need to learn about these things to minister to survivors. Basically, because the five dragons have formed a grid over the earth, uh, producing a web, as stated in Isaiah 25. And the web around the earth is trying to keep us from the power of God and trying to keep us from breaking through the second heavenlies where Satan reigns into the third heavenly, which is the throne room of God. So these, spiritual beings have formed a web around the earth to keep us from knowing God. The gold dragon. This is what comes across in human stories as the priestess of abundance, the source of balance and power, and Mammon, the guardian of treasure, the treasures of men and women, and the souls of men and women. The blue dragon is represented by the priestess of rain. Rain dance rituals, you see, are all in honor of the blue dragon, the cleansing rituals. The white dragon, the priestess of 3D music, what I would call trance music, and mind control. What unlocks the door? Frequencies. There's even what's referred to as the key of David. And there's a recommendation that people tune their instruments into the key of David, if you're into that, rather than a frequency that could be harmful without you even knowing it. Sound, you understand, brought down the walls of Jericho. Frequencies. There's frequencies that mesmerize and hypnotize people. And, I can't help but refer back to what happened in Palestine, between Palestine and Israel and the Gaza Strip. There was a music festival going on, and this is what really set off the trouble and the turmoil that's going on today, when they came and they kidnapped the young people who were at this music festival. But what was interesting to me was the type of music that was being played and programmed at that time was what's called trance music. In a few years ago, they called it like dubstep, and that's the word techno. music. This is all part of techno sorcery and mind control using frequencies. They're sex frequencies. And through and Christians don't like these words, but there is reality. There's power bases in your spine called chakras. And in the hands of Satan, the frequencies of certain music will start low in the primal regions, producing strong sexual urges. Okay? Through the music, through the frequency, these frequencies rise right up through the crown of a person where Satan seats himself as Lord over someone's life. Music is used to control people. Music takes your mind places. You hear a song and you think of a time or an experience you might have had. Music is a powerful tool. Even babies get hypnotized. I remember my grandson turning on Baby Einstein when he was little, and immediately whatever he was doing stopped, and he'd go to the end of his little crib and just stare at the TV. Frequencies are being emitted that are mind control, and the little babies don't have the protection to keep themselves from being drawn into it, obviously. Music can be hypnotizing, mesmerizing, and mind controlling. Now, we see music in church all the time. And it's so important for the music leaders to be holy, to be true and living for Christ. Because if you are leading worship on Sunday, but Friday and Saturday you were in the bars, don't you think that those spirits are going to come with you into the church? Because that's exactly what's happened. You don't hear people talking about holiness anymore. Very few. I hardly even hear messages about holiness, being set apart from God, and especially the worship leaders or anyone who is on the platform in front of people. Holiness needs to be so vital in order to keep wickedness out of the church. And that's one of Satan's big schemes is to take people who are gifted and talented and used to lead worship, and instead put them in places where there's anything but. Arts and drama, all that is so, have you seen the artwork like in the Vatican and that type of thing? Yeah, it's very demonic. I'm not trying to come again. I love Catholics. I was raised Catholic and I love Catholics. But there are things going on that are not Christian, that are demonic in the high levels of particular churches. And that's not the only one. We remember, some of the famous leaders, and we're seeing church leaders every day be taken down. Not by Sight is one YouTuber that he's the blind Christian guy, and every day throughout the day he reports on church leaders being taken down through sin and misbehavior. Church leaders being taken down, people who are being put in authority over other people. Holiness. We need to get back to the basics. And the church platform cannot be used by people who are engaging, in my opinion, in both worldly and godly things. It's like, no, make your choice. You're going to serve God, then serve God. Then do what's right. Do what he wants you to do, which is lead a holy life. We love the sinner, but we hate the sin, and you can't partake in it. You just can't. Don't do it. And I'm talking to myself. I'm not trying to come across like it. Believe me, I struggle. I've struggled my whole life. And I just want to live for God and to do what He wants me to do and to preach His word as much as I can and just help people. I just want to help people to know God, because God is the answer. God has all the answers, and God has freedom for us. And we don't need to be mind controlled. It's through the washing and the reading of the word that our minds are transformed, And so if we speak the word of God and we speak the things of righteousness to each other, we're changed. The red dragon rules over the airwaves, as we know, clearing obstacles for travel, protector of sacred portals to other realms. You hear a lot about portals these days, don't you? It seems like every day there's some kind of new artwork that's a portal. Remember the Olympics, what would seem to be rings, but were displayed as open portals, were little gray beings for coming in and out. We think of CERN, we think of the portals being opened and the spiritual entities gaining access to our realm. How's this done? Through frequencies, through vibrations, through rituals and incantations. The black dragon. We see the black dragon, the priestess of illusion, power, dominance, dark rituals, and the guardian of the underworld. These are all words that have been used to describe the black dragon. Black masses, deep darkness, blood sacrifice in contracts. The purple dragon. You see that purple dragon a lot of times in crystals, in crystal figurines. The warrior dragon, the dragon of war, the dragon that fought possibly the Archangel Michael. The earth dragon systems. Fire, for self-mastery. These are the elements that the dragons are said to control and to be invoked for by certain people who are into magic and occult. So fire, they try to gain self-mastery, resourcefulness, alchemical transformation in water, destroying power, negative authority, to divert the purpose of God in your life. The air dragon, the arsenal of spells and air magic, things you speak, the power of life and death. The air. It's where a lot of witchcraft takes place, is in the air, through words, through spells. The earth dragon, again, self-mastery, resourcefulness, alchemical transformations. These are dragons that are summoned, or spiritual entities that are summoned for particular use. The multiplicity and diversity of the smaller dragons that don't have names. They're like what you call demons. They're gophers in the dragon world. I'm telling you this so that we can take power over the mind control issues that have been plaguing humanity for a long, long time. Personal, there's a lot of personal experiences with dragons. They've been around, and they're pretty much in every single culture. The purpose of the dragons is to destruct. There are strong biblical foundations for this, and when we need to understand that mind control has been around for a long time. The dragon, or the summoning of the dragons mentioned in the Bible, Leviathan, the red dragon, the different forms that it takes, the shape shifting, is all part of Satan's schemes to deceive you. And I'm bringing you the truth today as I know it, in order that you might not be deceived, that you might be free. And we'll talk more about it, but I just wanted to thank you guys for joining me today and put a blessing on you and speak words of life and freedom to you as we discover it in the Word. Thank you so much for joining me. Love you guys.